Aaron Anderson is Senior Vice President Research at Fisher Investments and joins us now from San Francisco. A good evening to you, Aaron. A lot of sort of bad news, you could say, at the top of our show, but it looks like, looking at your notes, you could give us some Friday cheer. We've seen a pretty volatile September, but you have a high degree of confidence. Much of the negativity is priced in and a new bull market isn't far off. Talk us through that optimism.
Yeah, well, very nice to speak with you, Sam. Hopefully I can be a little bit of a ray of sunshine amidst all the negativity. And I do think that's a very important point. Clearly we're seeing that there are a lot of economic challenges out there. High inflation rates, extremely volatile FX markets, fixed income markets, equity markets even. And I think that's reflecting a lot of uncertainty. But these have been key worries for the market for a very long time now. The Fed has been a key topic on investors' minds for many, many months at this point, as have recession fears, as have energy fears and COVID fears and so forth. And I think a lot of these factors are losing their surprise power for market. I mean, we're seeing a lot of volatility still, but it's hard to argue that a lot of this isn't already factored into market pricing when you consider how volatile and negative equity pricing has been and many parts of capital markets have been so far this year. And so while there are negatives out there, to be sure, I think there are a lot more positives that investors are paying much attention to today. There are positive economic signs out there that get almost no attention whatsoever. Everyone seems very focused on the negatives. And I think a lot of that is baked into equities already, which in my mind, as I look forward from here, sets us up for some upside surprise.
And you're also optimistic on the earnings front as well. Is that still the case given what we heard from the likes of Bed Bath & Beyond, Micron and also Nike?
Well, companies are going to be facing some challenges earnings-wise, to be sure. I mean, when you've got this much volatility in markets, you've got higher interest rates, you've got, as I said, FX rates that have been very volatile. You still have inventory issues at a lot of the retailers. We're seeing that in some of the recent results. But overall, I think the earnings picture looks a lot better than some of the very negative economic expectations. One thing I hear all the time is it seems like there must be another shoe to drop with earnings expectations coming down because economic expectations have deteriorated quite a bit here. But I think investors underestimate just how much earnings expectations have already come down at this point. And when you look at actual results, they've actually been quite stable. Companies are maintaining relatively high margins despite high inflation rates. Overall top line and bottom line earnings have been pretty good. And so I think one of the key areas to be optimistic about amid all this negativity is the earnings picture for corporations.
And just very quickly, Aaron, of course, one of our big stories today is Truss not budging on fiscal policy. What will this mean for the BOE and markets?
Well, I think a lot is being made of the fiscal situation in the UK right now quite clearly. You're seeing that reflected in the pound. But, I think that those worries are a bit excessive here. These programs just aren't big enough to thrust the UK into a very negative situation. If you look at, the ultimate impacts of this on debt to GDP ratios and so forth, it actually looks relatively modest to us. And so what I think you're seeing here is a lot of uncertainty that's being reflected in all of the exchange rate volatility. Clearly, there have been a negative market reaction to some of those fiscal announcements. But I think ultimately it doesn't put the UK in a particularly bad situation. So to us, it looks a bit like some of this is overdone. There's more worry than actual negativity that's been embedded in some of these fiscal announcements.
Good to know. Well, that's all we have time for. Aaron, thanks so much for your insights. That is Aaron Anderson, Fisher Investments there.